Hello, you're welcome to this lecture on Government 1 to be precise. And in this lecture, we'll be focusing on the study of politics and government. This is a holistic topic that combines two very vital issues, government and then politics. And we'll be looking at different questions, possible areas of questions, and from there we are going to be looking at the answers to these questions. First of all, we will be examining the first question, which says, discuss the necessity of government to the normal functioning of a society. Now, when we look at this question, though it does not is direct, yet can be confusing for some students. The question is simply demanding for the functions of government. And as we answer questions in government, you're expected to give an introduction, to establish your point as the body, and also to give a conclusion. And for the introduction, emphasis should be given to the different definitions of government. And that is government as an institution of a state, government as an art of governing, and government as an academic field of study. And when this has been established, then the body, though itemized in this breakdown, should be examined paragraph by paragraph, not necessarily through numbering. Now, in this introduction that is given here, which might not be holistic as expected, it is said that a society or a state is made up of organized people who are referred to as social animals. We are all social animals, and we have different opinions, we have judgments on certain issues. Now, being an organized entity, higher animal, the way we organize ourselves is by establishing a system of management, a system of administration. And that system of administration that is charged with the responsibility of controlling the affairs of the state is what we know as government. A government is established as an agent or a machinery of the state in order to ensure or help the state in managing and administering the function of the state. Now, the goal of actually establishing a government is the desire to see that the whims and the caprice of the state is actually actualized through the machinery that has been established by the system. One can therefore deduce that the government is necessary. The government is essential to the normal functioning of the state. Now, what are these functions that we are trying to establish? How do government help? Why is government necessary for the normal functioning, for the appropriate functioning of the state? In another way, or in a simple way, what are the functions of government? Number one is the establishment of law and order. Now, in order to prevent anarchy, when we talk about anarchy, we talk about the state of lawlessness. Every society is expected to have guiding principles. Every organization is expected to have guiding laws that actually formulate or direct the action of people that belongs to that society. Now, what this will bring about is orderliness in the state, and that is why laws are needed. And these laws are enacted, they are established, they are enacted by the government. And sometimes it is used as a means of adjudication. Adjudication to mean settlement of disputes among members of the state. That is one very core function of government, establishment of law and order. Another key function of government is the protection of lives and properties. The protection of lives and properties. Now, a lot of us, we have properties as individual. That is one of the rights that we enjoy, the right to own properties. And part of a major issue everyone that owns property always have is the need to safeguard these properties. And also, one very vital property of every man is his life. And also, we desire to have our lives protected. These therefore form another basic function of a government in a state, and also establish why government is necessary to the normal functioning of a society. The society needs to be protected because there are bad eggs in the society, and therefore this becomes a major function of the government, and that is why the government establish law enforcement agencies, for instance, the police. And because the government sees it as a responsibility to actually protect lives and property. Another major function of government is welfareism, welfare. Now, when we talk about welfare, we're talking about creating a conducive environment for the citizens of the state in carrying out their daily activities. Now, what are the things that are needed or that constitute conducive environment? Part of the things that constitute conducive environment is stable power supply, good roads, employment, and some other things. Now, all these things are needed by the citizens: good schools, healthcare, water, and all that. These are social services. And it is therefore a role that is necessary in the society and therefore demands the need for a government. Another very important role and why government is necessary or needed in a society is the defense of the country. Now, we are in a situation in which we have different societies, we have different states, we have different nations, and a lot of time there are conflicts among different states. Now, there is always a general need that the states should be protected in terms of territorial protection, which we call territorial integrity. Now, also, there is a need to defend the country or the state from external aggression. And this therefore becomes one of the needs of the society that therefore calls for the creation of a government. Now, it is now therefore the function of the government to defend the country from external aggressors. And this explains why a lot of countries spend millions and billions on their defense. And they spend it on the army, they spend it on the navy, they spend it on the air force, they spend it on their submarines and so many other weapons of warfare. So they try to equip their arsenal in order to ensure that the state is protected from other external forces. Another very important role of government, or what necessitated the establishment of a government, is the maintenance of external relation. A government or a state cannot exist in isolation. A state needs other states for it to actually achieve its goal and objectives. And because a man cannot exist, or an entity or an organization cannot exist in isolation, therefore there is a need for relationship. And that is what brings about external relation in the focus as a function of government. So it is therefore a need for the society, and therefore a responsibility for the government of the state. Another need that actually calls for the establishment of government is the administration of justice. Now, when we talk about the administration of justice, we are talking about government establishing courts, and tribunals to help in arbitration and adjudication of justice, and sometimes even in the punishment of offenders. Now, this is also needed in the society and therefore constitutes a function of the government established by the state. Another very important function of the government, or what necessitated the establishment of the government, is the economic function. Government helps to regulate and plan the economy. Every state desires economic development, and even the way a government or a state is regarded among the community of nations is related to the economic development of the state. And it's therefore the role of a government established by a state to see that there is a normal functioning in the economy. And a lot of time, even the successes or failures of a government is measured by its economic function. So that means they regulate the production of goods, the rendering of services, the use of the abundant raw materials, among other functions. Another very good function of a government, or what necessitated the establishment of a government, is the political function. And when we talk about the political function, we are talking about regulating and monitoring political activities in a state, the establishment of political parties, the conduct of free and fair election, the maintenance of good relationship. These, among others, are some of the political functions that a state demands or need. A state wants to have a smooth handover of power, and therefore they need a government to monitor and also regulate activities as regards politics. And this also is another reason for the establishment of governments. So far we've been able to look at some of the reasons why a government is necessary to the functioning of a state. And we've been able to look at the points and to establish them as expected.
This is Valdymas College of Advanced and Preliminary Studies. We do excellent A-level programs for guaranteed admission into 200 level. We are in the success business and we transform minds.